Network and IKTV. Look forward to our live streaming every Sunday at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. See you soon. During our live discussions, you can expect us to tackle issues in sports, mental health, youth and politics, entrepreneurship. We will also speak about the effects of the pandemic and how we move forward as a nation. Expect us to talk about our heritage, Hairuna and its history, land of the blessed, and anything that can affect us as a people, as a Vincentian society. We will be serving you food for thought. Our panelists will inform you on the topics that we will discuss as they're experts in their field. They're knowledgeable and experienced, and bonus, they're Vincentians. However, it is important that we hear from you, our audience. Feel free to submit your questions to Asworth News Network Facebook page and to the IKTV Facebook page beforehand, or in the event that you feel the need to submit your questions during the live, feel free to leave your comments and we will get back to you. What's in store for you? Once you tune in to our live program every Sunday, you get a triangle of benefits. Here's how. You leave informed, you are eligible to win fabulous prizes every week, and you also get to see unique products and services offered by our sponsors. Don't miss out. Don't forget to follow Asworth News Network ANN on Facebook or its website annsvg.com for your latest news on sports and current affairs. Also, be sure to tune in to IKTV channel 112 to satisfy your craving for entertainment. Be sure to also like and follow their Facebook page, IKTV. Don't you miss out. See you soon.
My Digicel presents Hit via How To. Here is how you can purchase a plan in the My Digicel app and get instant access to all of our apps. It's simple. Let me show you how. From your home screen, find the Plans and Bundles icon in the lower left corner of your screen. Tap it to see your available plans and bundles. You can choose between a Prime bundle with data and talk or pick a plan from the Available Plans tab. Find the plan that's best for you. Then hit confirm and you're ready to go. With your new plan, you may have access to more of our apps. Find them in the More from Digicel section and hit download for each of our new apps. You can also upgrade your current plan or bundle under the Active Plan section of your homepage. Excited to try it out? Download the My Digicel app today. My Digicel, better together.
That's right. Free beer, free rent, free utilities, groceries, and fuel.
Check the bar for your 3 for 10. Look under your crown and win. Everything is rent, free. Utilities, groceries, fuel. You can win it all. Yeah.
Enjoy Ice Cold Hyrule 3 for 10 and check under the crown for the Live Up stamp and win a $200 cash voucher instantly.
Hyrule, you can win. Everything is free.
There's over $100,000 in prizes to be won. Rise up S3G and win with Hyrule. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends August 15th. Must be 18 and older. Please drink responsibly.
Eldorado Super Bingo. Bingo tickets play for opportunity to win US $25,000 on Sunday, 29th August 2021. Beginning at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. 13 chances to win. 6 US $1,000 cash prizes. 4 $2,000 US cash prizes. 3,000 US cash prizes. And 1 5,000 US cash prize. Games will be played on www.bingomaker.com. Login and access information would be provided upon purchase. Proceeds from this event goes towards a worthy cause. August 29th, Eldorado Super Bingo.
How do we deal with hits that aren't favorable? St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been hit by the recent massive eruptions and the global pandemic of COVID-19. Today, we will discuss the post-COVID and eruption Vincentian economy, calculating the steps forward. I am honored to sit among some of our very own intellectuals whom you are about to meet. I am your host, Vakisha John. Panelists, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm very happy to have you. I'm going to ask you all to introduce yourselves to the audience and tell us, how do you currently serve the Vincentian economy?
Starting with
Anybody. Whoever wants to go first.
okay, everybody's looking at me, so I will go first. Okay, so my name is Helena Thomas. I'm president of the St. Vincent Employees Federation and also human resource at St. Vincent Brewery Limited. So in a way, I'm serving the Vincentian economy in the private sector, looking after the interests of the private sector and also the company that I work for.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Kishore Sharma. Originally from New York Coastal. I'm living in Pembroke now. For the longest while, for many years now, I've considered myself a regionalist. And so as opposed to serving Vincentians, I tend to try to serve the entire region. And I think it's fitting that, currently I'm the Vice President of Cricket West Indies, a regional organization, President of Windward's Cricket Board, former President of St. Vincent Grenadines Cricket Association, but I've also served as a CARICOM Youth Ambassador. So as I said, I've been serving the region for a while now and consider myself a regionalist.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shalon. I'm happy to have you. And I'm going to ask the beautiful woman on my left to introduce herself.
Thank you. My name is Angela Idisha Jackson. I'm a Rastafarian. That's my proudest term of describing myself. And I serve my people by being an accountant. That's my training. I work at Integrated Medical Care. We offer, medical services to customers, and I function as a human resource person as well in that company. But more so, I consider myself a social activist, trying to do as much as I can for the youth in my community, trying to always be a voice that persons can relate to. So that's me in a nutshell.
All right, thank you so much. And we have with us another guest online who will now introduce himself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tony Regisford. I am currently the Executive Director of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Chamber of Industry and Commerce. I've been around, as you can see from the hair on my face. I have served in numerous capacities. Currently, I am on a few public sector boards. I chair Invest SVG. I have given a lot of service in the field of telecommunications. I have dabbled in certain businesses. I've been with the media. I'm connected with IKTV. I'm connected with Boom. So I'm multifaceted, and I think maybe I may have one or two things that will bring some value to this discussion, hopefully.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Regisford. So definitely we all can come to the conclusion that service is not missing amongst those who are sitting with me this afternoon, and we thank them for what they have done for our economy. Now I'm going to throw this out there to the panelists. Right now, we understand that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has gone through a lot. If you were to choose one word to describe the state of the economy, the current economy, what word would you choose to describe that state and why?
Well, I don't know who you want to start first.
One word, just one word to describe us and tell us why. Dr. Shallow, are you ready to tell us what that word is?
I would be very frank and say desperate.
Okay.
It's just extremely challenging times. How we have been surviving, is just really, I guess, a surprise, to be honest. When you look at the economies around, when you look at even how we have been operating over the years, a fiscal deficit, millions of dollars. We rely heavily on tourism that has stopped for the last year and a half, thereabout. Locally, schools are closed. Then sometimes we don't remember the economic impact of schools in session. And sometimes over the years, you probably seen the difference between when there's a school break and when school is actually going on. So just a quick reality before we get into the meat of the matter of this discussion today. We have about 29,000 students. When these students at home, you're talking the bus driver, because they're not traveling, the tuck shop, right? The little store that sells shoe, bags, even snacks, right? So the economy is affected significantly. And as I said, I don't know how we have been surviving. I guess later on in the program, we will be able to probably assume, come closer to what is, but currently it's desperate times.
Desperate is your word. And you've touched on a number of points that we will discuss later on in this program. But for now, I move to Ms. Thomas to have her word and to tell us exactly why she thinks that's the word that best describes us.
I think it's unsustainable. Why? Because we're dealing with sort of almost catastrophic situations. There was the eruption of the volcano. We're still dealing with dengue. We're dealing with COVID-19, and that seems to be going nowhere. And all these things have an economic impact on the business sector. And it seems as though there's no really quick fix or any answer to how we're going to move from any of these situations, because they're with us and they've been with us for a while now, and none of them seem to be coming to an end. So I think with the continuation of all these three things, we have an economy that, in my opinion, is very unsustainable.
Ouch. And that is a very harsh reality that I think a lot of countries are facing. So I'd ask our other two panelists, what's the word that best describes our economy?
I probably would have liked to use a phrase, but if you ask for a word, I would say it's weak.
Feel free to use your phrase.
I'm following protocol. So I would say our economy at this point is very weak. We moved from an economy where we depended on a monocrop, banana, to a mono industry, which was tourism. And we've always seen over the years how easy it is when persons depend on one thing, how if that thing is taken away, how easy it is for you to fall into situations of desperation. So we see that COVID has hit us, and before there would have been issues where persons, different countries would have been blacklisted for whichever reasons, and it would affect their tourism industry. In this case, we have COVID, and it has affected the traveling capabilities of many persons around the world. And we know the spill-off from that whole COVID issues is what we're going to be facing now, is the countries who are pushing the vaccination would be the ones to get back on the tourism horse very quickly. Now, I'm not sure if we're ready for that yet in St. Vincent, because that seems to be something that we have to discuss and educate the populace about even more. But I would say our economy is weak, and how can we make it strong is some issues that we'll discuss later on.
Yes, definitely. Mr. Regisford, what's that word that you would use?
Well, the word certainly is not buoyant. So it wouldn't be that. It would be the opposite to that. The economy is contracting. It's contracting at a rate that is not something that we are comfortable with. The previous comments all centered around the causes. We've got COVID in our midst. We know that COVID has wiped out a significant pillar of the economy, which is tourism, all but wiped it out. And all the downstream activities that are connected with tourism are affected. And then on the domestic side, I think Dr. Shallow quite rightly identified one of the aspects that a lot of people take for granted. The education economy is something that is significant. It's significant in terms of how that generates commerce. Children going to school is a generation of cash flow by itself. You know, uniforms being bought, snacks, transportation, you name it. So, and those are just two aspects. So clearly, we've got challenges. Added to that, of course, would be the global realities and the way we're connected globally in terms of logistics, for example. Right now, as we speak, you know, COVID has made freight issues a big issue in terms of cost of freight. Cost of freight means that we are seeing higher prices in the supermarkets. There are cases where freight has gone up almost 3 times. I don't think people realize that, you know? And that's because certain ports are moving at a slower pace, availability of containers, all those logistics are skewed. And we are feeling the pinch. The volcanic eruption would not have helped. And generally speaking, we're already, without those factors, without COVID, without the volcanic eruption, we were already in a, you know, in a challenging sort of economic trajectory. So that's where we are. You know, we are in a period of contraction.
I understand. And I am going to ask another interesting question. If I were to say that Vincentians are looking forward to a brighter day, what exactly would you say they're looking forward to? Is it that they're looking forward to jobs, to bodily autonomy, to the absence of corona, of dengue? What exactly do you think Vincentians are looking forward to? Having said all that, all 4 of you have just said.
I would like to think that they're looking forward to the day when things can probably get back to normal again, some sort of normalcy. Yes, of course, that would include jobs because our regular jobs, if you want to put it that way, because of COVID and the effects of that, there are some operations who would have had to sort of put the employees on shift maybe 2 days, 3 days. And of course, there are the measures, there are other things that I guess we'll get into later on with regards to COVID. But I think people are looking for some sort of semblance of normalcy again. And for me, I think that is what brighter day is what most people will be thinking. Once it's normal, I can do things that I used to do before there was COVID and before there's the eruption and before there's dengue. I could just go back and be what I used to be before that.
And how much do you think Vincentians are willing to sacrifice to get back to that normal?
Well, from all indications, I think they're willing to only go just as far. But if you look at this situation now, which is one of the things I personally didn't want to get into, like from right now with the COVID and the pushback with vaccination, which unfortunately is one of the things that is going to help us to get back to some semblance of normalcy. There's not a really great push for persons to be vaccinated in terms of people wanting to do it.
Right.
So I would think that, in my opinion, that is one of the things that might help us to get back to some semblance of normalcy if we have a population that is more vaccinated. Because let's be real, big COVID is a global thing. It's not just in Vincent.
It is.
And if you notice what is already happening in the tourism industry is that the places where these cruise ships are willing to make port of call those those countries that already have a high vaccination rate.
Right.
And we're really sort of quite to the bottom of that when it comes to vaccination. Because we had enough vaccine. If you ask me, we had enough vaccine that could have vaccinated the whole population already. But we had to give them away because they are close to expiry and people do not want to take the vaccine. I'm not going to say that they should. That's a personal thing, but I think that's one of the ways we're going to be able to get back to some semblance of normalcy.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas, for your contribution. And I will ask your fellow panelists to give their take on the vaccination and if it's really relevant, how important it is going forward, and how we should, as a country, approach that situation. But before that, let's just hear from the others. When I say that Vincentians are looking forward to a brighter day, what aspect do you think they're looking forward to most? Bodily autonomy, jobs, that absence of sickness, illnesses?
Well, I would say we have to now try to define what is going to be normal. And I don't think we'd ever get back to a state where we were before. I see persons, we've been having the same problems over the last 15 years. Unemployment has been an issue. It's just more severe now that we have the volcanic eruption. I think persons do love the ability to go out and enjoy and free up and have a party. And I think that is one of the things, if persons understand social beings, we have this need and this urge to just relax and enjoy the environment. And I think that is one of the things that is more strenuous to persons, that we're not able to have the nightlife or have the activities that we usually have. As it relates to the vaccination to get us back to where we should be or where we want to be, that is going to be a tough sell. I think persons need to be confident that the vaccine is helpful. And some, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm not going to take any vaccine. So let me put that out there first. So that's already my bias. I don't take foreign objects into my body. I don't eat flesh. I don't use a lot of chemicals. I don't use stuff that is manufactured that would carry fetus membranes and animal products and so forth. So I wouldn't take the vaccines. I think one of the major issues that we always need to advertise, sell, promoting healthy choices. Over the years, we've generally been a health conscious people, but sometimes if you're walking around, you see people just achoo, and they sneeze. And now we know that we're not supposed to do that. That's something that we were taught from childhood, and it now brings us back to our basic morals. Yeah. You shake your hand after you go bathroom. Some men would go bathroom in the public, and then they come and fist and shake hand, and you spread germs like that. So now it gives us a point that we have to be a little bit more conscious of how we take care of our sanitization, more or less. So if we heighten that, I think that would be important. I would also say that we have not been doing a lot to promote building immune systems, because that's one of the major things. The disease affects your immune system, and if we're not building immune systems, then what we're basically doing, leaving persons out there to be susceptible to disease. Yeah. So I personally believe building immune system is also one of the things that we can look into, looking at alternative medications that are out there that can help. And I think that will help in boosting our economy again. Now, the vaccine situation is going to be very, very serious, because if we want the tourist ships and them to come here, that's one of the fundamentals. But again, if it's so easy for us to lose our important sectors based on external factors, then we have to consider if these are the best sectors. Why not now take this opportunity to diversify? Because we really need the tourism sector, because it's our major economy activity. So why not take this opportunity as a reset? Let's now look at manufacturing. Let's now look at food processing. Let's now look at discussing our blue economy. How can we process our fish? How can we do fillet? And how these are things that we can also do as well. Look at the small businesses, empowering the small businesses to hire more persons and create microeconomy. I don't know if that's an avenue, but I think it's also very important that we look into it.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. And I just want to send a reminder to Dr. Shallow and Mr. Regisford, when they're answering what are Vincentians looking forward to most, I would like to hear your comments on the vaccine. Ms. Thomas has made a case on how we go forward, and from a human resource manager's perspective especially, she has said how it impacts the labor force, how it impacts the economy. So I want to hear from you. You do not have to say what is your personal position if you're vaccinated or not, but do you think it is essential in helping us to recover our economy as we go forward? Dr. Shallow.
I will try to limit my opinions. and not necessarily try to impose my own personal view to say, well, what people people want, and especially when it comes to the vaccine, right? But to answer your question directly in terms of what Vincentians, if you want to just limit to Vincentians, are looking forward to, I would say freedom, right? Freedom. I think, and not let's not even limit it to St. Vincent only, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but generally across the region.
Yes.
This situation is quite similar globally, right? If you follow the news, similar situation. People since COVID, people has a great appreciation for independence, right? The ability to make your own decisions. And I think quite often we underestimate that. And I'm happy to see that people realize now that, you need to, think independently, be independent, and so on. Bringing it at home, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Pre-COVID, we were poor. Since COVID, we are poor, right? Poverty has certainly increased. We always had an issue with unemployment. That too has increased. There are other areas you can actually look at. For example, and this may be debatable, gender-based violence. Right? I think most would probably say it has increased too. And even in not in St. Vincent, but regionally. And then we spoke earlier, your Mr. Redisford sort of conform it with the whole education system. Normally when we think of education system, we think of only, the academic part of it. But there's a component that is probably not realized by many, the school feeding program. So when you're not in school, there are a lot of children who suffering as a result because they're not catered to in terms of good nutrition and so on. So it's tremendous impact, right? And those are the social impacts, right, that we have to consider. So I think Vincentians generally, right, regardless of where you are, you're looking forward to freedom again. You're looking forward to just getting back to normal. And if that means, I think most people now are getting past, are tired. I personally am tired of hearing about COVID. I think most of us are. So we just want to get back to that stage, right? How are we going to get there? Then that is probably the hot topic and what we're going to debate here. But we're just ready to get back to some freedom and independence. If you didn't appreciate independence before, I'm sure now you want to be in that position of independence.
And just to comment on, to ask you a question, a follow-up on the importance of freedom. Do you think it is fair that one maintains his or her individual freedom while putting an entire society at risk? So let's say, for example, there's an individual who doesn't believe in mask wearing, or persons who go around and say, okay, well, I don't want to do this because I am free not to do this. And in doing that, in maintaining that freedom, you are putting somebody else's life at risk. What do you think about that?
Well, we are in a democratic society, right? At least, on paper, right? I tend to believe so for most part, right? An individual, I don't think we have given the parliament, the right to make decisions on our behalf. And if we are to argue and say, well, okay, they are going to make the decision on our part, then fine. But you can't tell me we haven't done any sort of assessment or study to see what the majority of intentions want, right? So then it's not a case of a man on the road saying, well, he doesn't want to take the vaccine and somebody else over saying he wants to take the vaccine, right? Locally here, we haven't done it. We don't have anything to show what we want, all right? So until then, I mean, the jury's out. But I could say that most persons would not surrender that freedom, as we have seen, because sometimes there's a silent majority in our case in this small economy where people are reliant on quite dependent on government and so on. People stay quiet, right? It doesn't mean that they agree, right? But if what we saw, whenever that was, right?
2 years ago?
Yeah, I believe so. If that's an indication of how people really feel, then maybe be at a stage where we probably could do a little bit more to find out what people really want and make a decision collectively, and not Kishore Shallow as about somebody just individually saying, well, I will take the vaccine, and next person, I don't take the vaccine. I think we need to approach this on a more collective, a more collective approach. That's what we need to do.
Thank you for that mouthful, Dr. Shallow. Mr. Regisford, we want to hear from you on this point.
Well, let me just say that to Dr. Shallow that West Indies are 127 for 7, I think. And I know he's probably distracted there. I have the good fortune of checking up on the score. Pakistan needs to take 3 more wickets. We need another 41 runs. We need to get there. Listen, let me start with the vaccine first. I'm unashamedly a pro-vaccine person. I'm scientifically trained. I have lived my life with confidence in science. Science has proven itself over and over. That's why I'm sitting here and not there, and you're hearing me. There are countless manifestations of advancements in science as far as medicine is concerned. I don't even think we can debate that. And I think pragmatism is what a scientific mind is all about. I believe the vaccine is one way, or the only known tool that we think so far can get us back to a state of normalcy and to maybe suppress the spread of COVID-19. Move it from a pandemic. And a pandemic means that this is a virus that's spreading worldwide. So I'm not going to mince words with that. I think that for functioning economy, you have got to take public health into consideration, take COVID out of the question. If there was an infestation of rats spreading leptospirosis and people were dying, we'd have to do something about the rats. We could not conduct business normally. We could. So there's always a medical challenge which we have to deal with, and we have to deal with the best tools that we have at our disposal. Until somebody can tell me what are the alternative tools that they can come up with to fight COVID-19. And I've not heard that at all. I've heard the anti-vaccine voice, but I've not heard the alternatives and the practical alternatives. I am a science-based thinking, practical person. I fly in aircrafts. I have the confidence that when I get on an aircraft, I am going to get to my destination. It doesn't mean aircrafts don't crash, but I have the confidence that the research, the engineering, the minds that have put that machine together to move me across the Atlantic or wherever I'm going, defying gravity works. We can't eat our cake and have it. Okay, so that's all I'll have to say there. What would the intentions like? Well, everybody wants a state of normalcy, but let's define what that state of normalcy is. We are assuming that before COVID and before the volcanic eruption, life was hunky-dory. It wasn't. I mean, we had big economic challenges. I think Aidisha spoke about the monocrop in her introduction. Bananas, we've gone past that as the main economic pillar. That has taken a big chunk out of our GDP, and we've had to fashion an economy in the absence of that. Okay, that's not coming back. It's not coming back in my lifetime. So we have to look at, I think, COVID and the volcanic eruption, but COVID more so, is a good time to pause and look to see how we can have a multi-layered economy. And I think Aidisha was alluding to that. Okay, diverse, if you want to use that word. We need some big economic spinners, however. That's the reality. We need the big wheel to turn the smaller wheels. And I believe the right type of tourism model, the right type, and perhaps if we have time, we can get into a discussion on that. But the right type of tourism model is definitely something that we need to look at. Given our geography, given our proximity to the markets that we target for tourism, given our natural beauty and what tourists look for, all of that, And given the fact that our local market is small, 100,000 people, if I was selling matches to St. Vincent, a box of matches, what, $1? I would have to sell lots and lots of matches to become rich. But if I was selling matches to China, same price. I'm just making the point. Economies of scale. We have got very, very small markets, okay? And we have to take that into consideration. Yes, we can push the manufacturing sector, but we've got to understand what the niches are, where we can export to, what we can export, how we can compete. Look, this stuff is not simple, okay? There's a few tricks that I think we are missing. Dr. Shallow is there as the vice president of West Indies Cricket Board, or what I think that's what you call yourself, West Indies Cricket, right? I personally feel that we don't push enough development in sports. I don't think we understand the economy around that. And very often it is a way of accelerating people to great wealth, provided they can get the discipline and manifest their natural abilities, refine it to the proper resources thrown at them. I don't think we do enough of that. I'm very, very serious about that. I don't think we do enough of that in cricket, soccer, or athletics for that matter of fact. Tennis, there are lots of disciplines. I don't think we have gone back into refining the agricultural sector. We are still existing on the old models of agriculture, I feel, and I think there's a lot of potential there. So there can be some big economic spinners. I really believe that there's hope, and of course there's technology. People being trained in technological areas, and areas where they can access global markets by the use of technology. So I know I'm giving you quite a mouthful, right? But all I'm trying to say on the vaccine matter, I am unmovable on that one. On the matter of the economy and how we get back to normalcy, I don't want to use the word normalcy. I just want to say, let's get past COVID and let's pick back up the challenges, the initial challenges that we had. Of course, nobody's mentioning climate change issues. Major, big. Look, last night I had a landslide in my own yard. We've got these challenges. So COVID will go away, but we still have a fight on our hands. I think that's my mouthful.
We will come back to tourism, agriculture, education, sports, and even sports tourism and how we can approach that. But we've established the vaccine as a driver forward, an engine. But we haven't said much, besides Ms. Jackson, we haven't said much about healthy eating. How do we go forward? Do we continue the eating habits that we have? Because when diseases like these come, there is little to no chance of fighting for a number of persons. And if we check the statistics, with the non-communicable diseases in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we would see how badly we are affected by those diseases. Diabetes, hypertension, you name it, it's there. How do you think that we can go forward, eating what we grow, growing what we eat, and affording a healthy diet, practicing and promoting healthy lifestyles within our schools, within the workplace, and generally in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Ms. Jackson.
Yeah, one of the things we have to know, in a lot of the developed countries in the world, because they understand the importance of food security and being able to feed the populace, they generally have large subsidies to farmers. Back in the day when banana was king, farmers were king. Farmers did all, build all the fancy houses in the countryside and so forth. Today things have changed. But also we've been sending a lot of students off to study agronomy, and we have to, agriculture, we have to now think of doing agriculture in a smarter way, a more sustainable way. It's not always you go and you plow down the mountainsides and cause erosion and all the other things. But there's smart ways to do these things now, and I think we need to encourage a lot more persons to go into farming and assist even by starting up for the first year or two, subsidizing. I know the Ministry of Agriculture using the limited resources, because I think it's one of the ministries that have the least budget to do what they have to do. But if we have a country that is not able to feed themselves and feed themselves with healthy food, because one of the things is growing food and growing food with a lot of chemicals. Yes. We are still one of the few countries in the world that still use some chemicals that are banned around the world that we know that are cause agents for cancer. So we still use them in our farming, and then subsequently we have eating vegetables, but you still get this, you still get that, So I think we need to look at it in a bigger picture. Farming is important, and as Tony said, we need to see how we can get persons to go into these sectors. I also think that one of the main reasons, even coming out of the volcanic, we didn't even touch this, but we're not preparing our people for natural disasters. Yes, we do a little bit of work, but I think this volcano showed how ill-prepared we were, okay? The evacuation process, the health centers, the places where the shelters, they were not adequately prepared. Most of the shelters are schools. So even if we were in school now, thank God for COVID, they wouldn't have school because they wouldn't have a lot of places for the children to be. So I think all of these things we need to look at. We need to look at these seriously and see how we can, how we can improve on managing our resources, managing the health centers, managing the shelters in general. These are some of the things I think we definitely have to look at.
Thank you. And when you spoke about farming, you spoke about the chemicals that we use, so that even when you're eating vegetables, it's still somewhat unhealthy. I think that can be applied to fish as well. The pollution in the oceans, the toxins that you get from the fish. Do you also think that's something that we need to look at immediately?
Definitely, we need to look how we control our waste. A lot of us, we just discard of our waste without thinking. That's what I'm saying. The whole process of COVID too has shown us that, because we see the amount of bottles that pass down from this whole volcano, waste going out to the sea, and all this waste just end up there. We need to be better. We need to consider that we are protectors of the environment. If I don't take care of the environment today, what are my grandchildren going to get? So if we just continue to doing things lawlessly, we just cut down all the trees in the mountainsides, we just clear any piece of land and construct, we just throw away, you're a mechanic shop and you just throw all the oil in the river next door. Eventually, my kids wouldn't know what is a crayfish, or my grandkids wouldn't know what is a crayfish, because there wouldn't be none left in the river. So we have to, we have to keep educating. Education is very, very important. We have to keep educating persons through programs like these, through social media, through the television, through the radio, through jingles, because a lot of the kids learn from, one of the things we learn from way back when, bits of paper lying on the floor. Who does ever forget that?
Yes, that's true.
So a lot of the things that we teach the children from small will help to create some of the changes we want in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Regisford, do you agree with Ms. Jackson in her comments on healthy eating and care for the environment?
Oh, most certainly. I would like to think I'm a health advocate. I want to make one point though. We have to do what we have to do in terms of proper nutrition and eating the right foods and making sure that we are getting adequate exercise and rest. People forget rest. Rest is also very important. So we have to have that balance. The exercise part is very important. But I want to make the point with what we're seeing. COVID-19 may be an example of this, but increasingly you're hearing about viruses passing from animals to humans. And there are a few hypotheses out there about the whole global warming and the disruption of animals' natural habitats and how they're getting closer and closer to human beings, occupying the same space, basically. And then that is putting us at more exposure. The point I want to make here, you take bats, for example, which it is one theory that the COVID-19 virus is bats. But I'm not saying it is or it is not. I'm just saying, you take bats, for example, they have got an immune system 1 million times more effective and stronger than a human immune system. Okay, I need you to understand that. And if a virus moves from a bat to a human being, well, we're in trouble. Okay, you can eat as healthy as you want. I'm just saying to you that even at our healthiest point, our ability to fight some viruses that may move from animals to humans is not straightforward. I need people to understand that. I'm not an expert on this, but I'm just saying, I want you to put your minds there. You're talking about animals that whose immune systems are far more developed, because of the hostile nature in which they live, the hostile environment in which they live, far more developed than human beings. And if we're going to get viruses jumping from them to us, we got problems. Okay. Back to healthy eating, of course. I think Idisha, everybody on the panel, I'm sure Dr. Shallow, I'm sure Helena would be big advocates of us focusing a lot on healthy lifestyles. And a healthy lifestyle means doing the right things, eating, resting, and exercising. And if we're able to do that, we would have the potential to leverage whatever little resources we have to get the economy working. You know, we can't get an economy working with unhealthy people. We can't get productivity up. If people are falling asleep at work because, they've got some insulin tolerance issue or whatever the case is, or every day they're off to the doctor. So it goes without saying that we do need to adopt healthy lifestyles.
I want to jump in here now because he was speaking about, productivity within the workplace and the labor force and how healthy eating, a lack of rest, lack of exercise can affect us as a people and the labor that we do. What would you say about that?
I just want to go back a bit to what Idila was saying about farming. I'm all for sustainable farming. I actually, as a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I was rushing to come here, because when I get a free time, I'm in my garden planting something or doing something. I believe, however, though, that, like Tony said, it doesn't matter how healthy we are. There are some viruses that our immunity in our body are not going to be able to fight off on its own. And I happen to believe that COVID is one of them. Okay. So, yes, holistic lifestyle, healthy eating, exercise, and all of that, yes. In terms of the workforce, how it impacts the workforce if you have a situation like that. Let's be real. If you have a lot of persons in a workforce that is hypertensive or diabetic, it's going to impact the workforce negatively. Because in some cases, some persons, like we were saying, it comes back to immunity and how well the body can fight some of these things. It means that in some cases, some person are going to need time off because they're going to be sick frequently or something like that. But I don't know that, if you ask me, that really is going to sort of help in a way to fight COVID, if you ask me, because there are a lot of persons, and if you look at all the records so far, they're perfectly healthy person who live in the gym every day and whatever else that affected by COVID-19. So I'm not sure that, yes, even if you do that, which a lot of people do, myself included, that is going to be preventing me from catching COVID-19 if I'm exposed to it.
Right. And Dr. Shallow, what would you say about what Ms. Thomas just said? I'm seeing a facial expression coming through here.
I was going to ask you to permit me to just, engage Ms. Thomas, because I think this is more like a discussion we have, yes. Right? And I heard her mention that I just wanted to elaborate on why she thinks that eating healthy alone won't fight off COVID. I mean, that's what she said. So I don't know if you can elaborate it.
Because as I was saying earlier, if so far up to this point, COVID is no respect of any person. There are persons who have been healthy, and all sort of physical and economical conditions that has been affected with COVID. And that's the reason why I'm saying is that eating healthy alone is not going to stop you from getting the virus if you're exposed to it.
Okay.
And yes, Ms. Jackson.
Yeah. Do you know how much persons have caught COVID in St. Vincent?
If I know how much?
Yeah, how much? Or roughly, an estimate.
I don't know. It seemed like maybe around 1,500 or something like that.
And how much have recovered?
What's the recovery rate?
I don't know. The majority of it.
12 people died so far.
Yeah, but the point is,
the persons who've caught COVID and have survived and have no side effects, no problems. As I said, who told you they were living healthy, they eat in provision because it's a virus, just like a cold, but have other serious implications. I don't want the people to go off with the point that I said, just like a cold. Cold is a virus, and this one is a virus as well. But building your immune system, because that's the first thing that would fight it off. You understand? Building your immune system. A lot of the persons who died from COVID had weak immune systems.
But there are a lot of other persons who caught COVID too, who didn't exactly have weak immunity. And that's my point. It is not a respect of any person, whether you're healthy, wealthy, physically or not. You may be exposed to it. Yes, it comes back to immunity and how well your body can fight it. But for those persons whose body are not able to fight it, what is it supposed to do? Just stand by and throw their hands up in the air and say, well, hey, my body is weak already. I can't fight the thing. Just let it do what it wants to do in my body.
So we are hearing from our panelists that the vaccine and external sources besides healthy eating may be necessary to fight some viruses, while some panelists believe that having that strong immune system can prevent you and can help you in fighting a virus. Dr. Shallow, I'm back to you with healthy eating and how much importance we place on it as a society, and what do you think we can do going forward?
I would start by saying that I think previous generations have failed us where this is concerned, right? And I say that with regards to, hearing stories of how successful we were with agriculture, farming, and so on. And we pretty much let that drop for one reason or the other. People will not have different opinions on that. In my opinion, we failed to capitalize on that industry, right? I think mainly because of a similar treatment to what we have done to sports over the years. The persons who were successful, majority, either sent their children off to become a doctor, a lawyer, those who are, the prestigious job, And so we failed to capitalize and continue that, right? Only to come around in 2020, 2021 and realize how important that sector especially was. I say is, sorry. And as I said, it's a similar treatment to sports where we are yet to embrace sports as a people, right? I'm relatively young, but in my time in school, and it's probably still happening, where parents would probably tell the children, listen, forget sports,
Focus on the books.
Study your books,
yeah,
right? Utter rubbish, right? I normally say, and for the longest while I've been championing, balance, right? Balance academics, balance sports. Just like how we could do everything else, you could balance those. And if we had, champions who are telling our people that, whether from school as young as primary school, secondary school, go on to college, then we probably would have been a stronger economy, right? So back to food, right? So because of our failed approach when it comes to farming, agriculture, right? There are consequences, right? One, food security is an issue now. Food security should never be an issue in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. With a population of just over 100,000, look at the land we have here for farming. It should never be an issue, but it is, right? And of course, because there's a scarcity of, different produce, whether it's fruits or vegetables, right? Provision, whatever. Then economics, demand, supply and demand, right? So then it comes now to people can't afford it.
Sure.
just recently here, I checked in the supermarket probably a couple of days ago, about 4 tomatoes for about $10, right? People not walking. Are you walking? You're paying bills. You can't afford it. So when we talk about healthy eating, the reality is people cannot afford to eat healthy. And we need to accept that that is the reality, right? I mean, I'll just bring you all in a little story here, right? Not to sell out my fellow panelists here, but when I was in grammar school, it's about 20 years ago, I used to go by my Rasta. That's the first time I met my Rasta friend there, where we go down and we eat healthy ital, right? And we eat healthy ital for $2, right? But Idisha was only able to sell us at that rate because, she probably did her own farm, she got those produce fairly cheap.
Because I just didn't want to take care of the grammar school boy.
Probably that too.
I know he will eventually remember when he's a doctor. I help nourish him to become a doctor.
Right. But the point now, ital now is probably about $5, $6 going up there dollars, and people can't afford. And we have to strengthen our economy. We have to be creative. We have to come up with innovations that we could strengthen our economy again. We have to unite. Yeah. Because I often say that we are too small as a country, as a region, to be so divided. And once we remain this divided, we're not going to progress. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Shallow. We have just seen the return of the Prime program, a grant that allows entrepreneurs to start businesses, to widen their businesses, and to expand. Also, we have received donations from a number of organizations in the world. When we get back, we will talk to our panelists about the government spending of these donations. Do we commend our government, or do we say that we are not pleased? See you when we get back.
Oh dear.
My Digicel presents Hit via How To. Here is how you can purchase a plan in the My Digicel app and get instant access to all of our apps. It's simple. Let me show you how. From your home screen, find the plans and bundles icon in the lower left corner of your screen. Tap it to see your available plans and bundles. You can choose between a Prime bundle with data and talk, or pick a plan from the Available Plans tab. Find the plan that's best for you, then hit confirm and you're ready to go. With your new plan, you may have access to more of our apps. Find them in the More from Digicel section and hit download for each of our new apps. You can also upgrade your current plan or bundle under the Active Plans section of your homepage. Excited to try it out? Download the My Digicel app today. My Digicel, better together.
Drive for free, talk for free with Hyrule. You can win it all.
That's right. Free beer, free rent, free utilities, groceries, and fuel.
Check the bar for your 3 for 10. Look under your crown and win. Everything is rent, free. Utilities, groceries, fuel. You can win it all. Yeah.
Enjoy Ice Cold Hyrule 3 for 10 and check under the crown for the Live Up stamp and win a $200 cash voucher instantly.
Hyrule, you can win. Everything is free.
There's over $100,000 in prizes to be won. Rise up S3G and win with Hyrule. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends August 15th. Must be 18 and older. Please drink responsibly.
Eldorado Super Bingo. Bingo tickets play for opportunity to win US $25,000 on Sunday, 29th August 2021. Beginning at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. 13 chances to win. 6 US $1,000 cash prizes. 4 $2,000 US cash prizes. 3,000 US cash prizes. And 1 5,000 US cash prize. Games will be played on www.bingomaker.com. Login and access information would be provided upon purchase. Proceeds from this event goes towards a worthy cause. August 29th, Eldorado Super Bingo.
Computech Limited is one of the oldest computer businesses in SVG. Computech supplies a wide range of desktop and laptop computers and printers to suit your home or business, and is the only company that provides a full range of IT solutions to our many customers across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Computech, your authorized service center for Dell, HP, and Lenovo. Ideally located in Kingstown on the corner of Egmont and Bay Street, opposite the Financial Complex building. Remember the name. Computech, 25 years and getting better.
Welcome back. We say thank you to our sponsors, Digicel, Hyroon Hold Your Own, District Stairs, General Hardware. We also say thank you to Computech for allowing us to be here as both News Network and IPTV. Right before we left, we were about to dive into a discussion on how important is the Prime Grant to our entrepreneurs before we even touch the donations that we have received as a nation. Mr. Regisford, can you tell us about the Prime program and what benefits do you think Vincentians, young or old, can get from this grant?
Okay, well, Prime was conceived just before COVID as a grant scheme, a grant system that would give young entrepreneurs in particular a push off. People who would not necessarily be able to access financing from a commercial lending institution because of no financial history or no collateral, etc. So, you know, the big thing about access to finance in getting businesses going is an issue right across the Caribbean and developing states, okay? And Prime was conceived to address a small element of that. Microloans, really. That was the initial thought. And giving it to people in some priority sectors. The priority sectors were sectors that were identified as growth areas. I'm talking pre-COVID here. Growth areas: tourism, agriculture, fisheries, the arts, creative sector, the culinary area, you know, cake making, that sort of thing, fashion. So all those emerging sectors that quite a few young people in particular are becoming increasingly interested in pursuing as an alternative income or as a full-time income. That is what the concept of Prime was. But as soon as Prime was launched, COVID came like a bat out of hell. And it kind of shifted the dimension of it, because an element of Prime now became a sort of a bailout, if you understand what I'm saying to you, okay? An element. So in came a different dimension, which was people over 40. Initially, Prime was meant for people between the ages of 18 and 40. But in came the COVID-19, and therefore people who were over 40 who are already in business, but because of the sluggish nature of the economy, perhaps needed to a little, a little prop up, a little help, put it in that way. They became eligible as well for Prime. The demand on Prime, I will tell you, far exceeds the supply. Far exceeds the supply. I don't think that should be a surprise to anyone. No government anywhere in the world has a bottomless pit of money. Okay, and so that's a challenge with the program. The challenge with the program is, how do you say no to well-deserving people? It is a challenge. But for those who are successful in getting a Prime grant, the idea is that they will take that money, they will push off, and they will hopefully, if nothing else, create employment for themselves and better outcome, which we all hope for, is create a couple of jobs, because that's what we are trying to do. When we try to grow an economy, we're trying to not just create wealth for individuals, but we're trying to spread that wealth. We're trying to create more jobs. So in essence, Prime is a very good program. In essence, the challenges, however, is, and we go back to the market. I was having a discussion with somebody this morning about that. Banks are liquid, very liquid. The money is there in the banks. It's not circulating in the economy. The challenge is, if you make it circulate, how will it circulate? Will it circulate in a sustainable way? And I think a lot of panelists who commented before have used that word quite often so far, the whole question of sustainability. We have to, whether it's Prime, whether it's monies that you're borrowing commercially, whether it's money that you're taking out of your savings, whether it's a family member helping you out, whatever enterprise that you are getting engaged in, the challenge is getting the money to get started. Yes, that's not the end of the challenge. The challenge also is in operating a sustainable business. And operating a sustainable business has many driving factors. The economy is one, the demand for your service, the markets that you can access, the capacity that you can build within your business to meet demand or to meet what customers are expecting. All those are factors. So to answer your question and not eat up all your time, I would say to you that Prime is, and more programs like Prime should be, a common feature. Not necessarily grants alone, but soft financing, concessionary type of financing where your repayments don't kill you before you even get started. That's one end of the puzzle. Okay. But we have to work, all of us, and especially the policymakers, to create the kind of ecosystem that supports sustainable enterprise. And, that may sound very simple. Dr. Shallow, I'm sure, and Helena and Aidisha will tell you it's not. Okay, if it was, then we'd be long past this discussion that we're having. So, yes, you ask me about Prime, I will tell you Prime and programs like Prime are good, but not a standalone. It's you can't look at it as a standalone thing. There are other factors that will determine whether people receiving grants would therefore go out and manage to create a sustainable enterprise.
Thank you, Mr. Regisford. And just to follow up quickly, would you say that it is a myth that this valuable grant is granted to persons or afforded to persons based on any form of political privilege?
Well, let me tell you, I chair the evaluation committee of Prime. Okay, this is how Prime is structured. It's not a secret. The applications come to the evaluation, the steering committee for Prime, which essentially are the ones who evaluate the applications and make the recommendations to Cabinet for approval or disapproval. Okay. Or for tweaking, for adjustment. You know, you may apply for a grant of $10,000, and after testing it, you know, what you really need is 15, or what you really need is 5. Okay. So whatever the final recommendation is, that is sent to Cabinet. That committee, that evaluation committee, comprises of a wide range of professionals who, I don't know what their political coloration is. Some of them are even civil servants. So you had people like Felix Lewis, who is the executive director of CED, sitting on that committee. Annette Mark at Invest SVG, me from the Chamber of Commerce. That's the capacity in which I serve on Prime, mind you. People from the Ministry of, I can't remember what it is, but her name is slipping me right now, but she's a civil servant who attends to these social welfare programs. That's her substantive job. The name will come to me. The cabinet secretary sits on it, or a representative, somebody from a couple of people from the Ministry of Finance. The point I'm trying to make to you is that at that level, I can unequivocally tell you that there's no political bias. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I have not seen myself the evidence of it. And I would be disheartened, to be honest with you, if you would take a bunch of well-meaning people, ask them to evaluate applications, and then turn around and make your decision based on politics. Then you don't need us. Okay? I've not had that sense. Okay? So I can safely say that unlikely that those grants were given on the basis of political patronage. I don't know people's political coloration. I unless you jump up on a pedestal and tell me what it is. I don't know. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Regisford, for that walkthrough, especially coming from someone who plays such an integral role on the evaluation committee. I'm just going to open the floor to the rest of the panelists to comment on the Prime program and how much do you think this can do to our economy?
I would have liked to ask a question to Tony to find out if it's still functional, firstly, right? But nevertheless,
but I can answer
as
that
he
now,
rightfully
Aidisha.
said, the government doesn't have a bottomless pit of money. So therefore, to me, it started off being unsustainable in its entirety. What would have been probably one thing that would have been better for me is microfinances, where persons are given loans and they can pay back, and then you can make it a little bit, you could stretch the money a little bit longer. But nevertheless, I do think it's a good initiative for the persons who have benefited thus far. What sometimes goes wrong, because I was also a beneficiary of a micro loan from NCB years ago. And it helps to boost your business. I know any influx of money in your business would help to boost your business. But what is also very important is walking along with the persons. Sometimes persons are given money and they may invest it in the business and things go a slow period, and then they start to use the monies and put the house and the business together, and then the money is for the business, for the light bill and for home, and they buy more groceries, and then sometimes you need to have somebody to hold your hand a little bit more along the way. And a lot of these things that they give you the thing at the start and then there's no continuity. I'm not saying this is the case with the Prime because I don't know all the details with the Prime, but I do think it's a good initiative. I don't think that it should have been limited to any particular age group, because there's some persons who've been doing businesses for years, and sometimes you need this influx of cash, and that's one of the limiting factors. The age, I know they still extended it, but a lot of the persons who are over 40 are not getting it as easy as the younger persons. So I think in the future we do need more microfinances. I think, as he rightfully said, a lot of the banks are very liquid. A lot of the credit unions are very liquid, but they make borrowing very difficult. It's easier for me to walk into one of the I don't want to call the names to promote them, one of these quick lending agencies, and today and tomorrow I have $5,000, and I have the same job, and I go into the bank and I have to jump hoops. I have to go for this paper and come back and come back and come back, and then they tell you, oh no. You understand? And then some of the credit unions would say they don't lend for businesses.
Right.
You know, so I think there needs to be a very serious effort to assist the small businesses, because small businesses as well help to drive the economy. For example, in the United States, the small business sector employs 57% of the private sector population. You understand? And sometimes you think it's only the big car companies or these big companies that employ, but a lot of the small businesses, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5 that we add up and create employment for a lot of people. So I think we really need to help, help to keep this going. So we need to find the sort of resources to put in the microfinancing sectors. The banks need to be a little bit more risk averse, I should say. But trust the small businesses and see how they can help the small businesses grow a little bit more, and walk along with them, and not just, even give them the money and then just leave them and say, well, okay, fine. You're paying your loan, fine. Help them along the way, have seminars, have sessions, keep them on their toes, help them with the accounting part of the business, help them with the marketing part of the business so that they can grow. So that's the only thing that I really think we should add, more microfinancing.
And I'm going right to Dr. Shallow, especially since he is well qualified in financial management. But Mr. Regisford, do you want to respond to Ms. Jackson's question?
Oh, well, I can respond to a couple of things that she raised apart from the question. I do understand that the program has been reactivated in some way, in that I believe their money is available now to take care of some of the backlog. We have not taken any new applications. We have not processed any new applications for a while. And I think we'll get to that at some stage. In terms of the program being one thing to all people, it clearly cannot be that. Okay, so that's why I made the point. It's important to have different sources of financing, different avenues. Prime is just one. And I go back and I say that the original idea was really targeting a particular age group that not have a financial track record, have the energy and the zest and the zeal to want to get going with something that they think they can do and something that has some sort of viability. I see nothing wrong with that. I don't see, because a program cannot serve everybody means that the program is not a good one. But the point is taken that if everybody could be served from several angles, then yes. The idea that the program was not sustainable from the word go, because it's not a loan program. I don't necessarily buy that argument in terms of sustainability. It's a program with a definite start and stop. Like there are many grant programs that have preceded Prime. There's a pot of money, which when it stops, when it ends, it ends. So there's nothing sustainable about that. It's not. I don't think Prime is meant to go on and on and on at infinitum. But yes, I take the point that microfinancing, microloans are something that we need to see more of and see, that sort of activity taking place. Now, there's one other thing I want to respond to in terms of, and I want to discourage people from the temptation of this kind of credit card borrowing, which is what I call fast money enterprises to be. Yes, of course, it's easier to go in there and get the money because you're paying 4 and 5 times the interest, the premium. So it may seem like a quick win, but it really is problematic in the long run. They charge you extremely high interest rates because you are a very high risk. and I don't want to see the commercial bank going down that route. So I'm going to say this without any fear of recourse, that fast cash, quick cash, all those mechanisms are not the answer to the economy. I will say that, underscore, not. So yes, that's my response.
Thank you. I'm going to Dr. Shallow. Take us deeper into this conversation.
Yeah, well, just very recently, I had some engagements with a few small, or not micro, small, and medium enterprises, and asking them a few questions. And I could recall one of the critical factors that they identified for them to be sustainable, even be successful initially, is access to funds. Idisha, I don't know the Miss Jackson part, but Idisha mentioned, alluded at least to how difficult it is for them to access, even just open an account, something as simple as that, right? Over it is difficult. It's going through endless paperwork and stress, bureaucratic processes that a lot of them don't even understand or have any appreciation for. But let me put some context to it, right? And it's just to tie right back into our main topic. So tourism, cruise ships, visitors via cruise, 50%, I think, thereabout, of the guests that we have, the tourists we have. Then you have, USA, UK, Canadian citizens were pretty much banned for a while from coming to this part. They have not banned, restricted, right, for one reason or the other. So there has been no funds, revenues coming in from those parts, from tourism, right? We need to find ways of stimulating the economy, right? And any program whatsoever that's going to bring revenue into the country, then I am fully supportive of it, right? And Prime is one of those. I can't tell you exactly where the funds are coming from, but I know it's coming into the country, and it's an opportunity for Vincentians to benefit from significantly. And I don't believe that any sober-minded person would oppose to a program like this, and I haven't heard any. What I've heard, though, is persons complaining about the identification or the process, right? Is it a level playing field, right? Is there an impartial process, selection process? And you asked the question explicitly to Mr. Redis further, which I think he answered. I don't know if he accepted his answer, but he answered. You see, the problem is in our very small economy and small state where everybody know each other and thing, it's sometimes politics, becomes a factor, and sometimes not even deliberately, right? That's the reality. I won't go further into that, right? But I don't think persons are opposing Prime, are opposing similar programs. However, what I've heard is the need for some sustainable planning, and that is what, if I have to offer a suggestion for whatever it's worth, that would be it. Put something in place, a monitoring and training program, an element of supporting these small businesses, because you could give someone a business. I know persons, in fact, I have my own personal experiences, right, with giving persons money to, small investment, because you see them struggling and you see them trying. And as soon as they receive the money, that is it, right? Because they have no idea of money management. They have no idea of business management, right? So to give them grants without the necessary support is you're talking about a very short-term program investment. And within months, it will just fill a gap, put it that way, right? So I think what needs to be done, in addition to Prime, I don't know if it's possible based on the project, if it's possible to secure some of the funds that are available for Prime to a component of monitoring and training. I think if that could be done, right, then the program would be successful.
All right, thank you, Dr. Shallow. Just a follow-up question. Do you think a loan program may have fostered or encouraged a more business-like approach from the recipients of the Prime to take the business seriously and not just spend the money when they get it in any haphazard way?
I'm more in favor of a grant, right?
Okay.
If you, regardless of what, if you just do not have the knowledge of running a business, you're going to fail, right? Whether it's you have to pay back a loan or not. There are quite a few persons who receive loans to go and study and they just can't afford to pay it back. There are people who have taken loans to do businesses and they just can't because it's risk, high risk in these economies, right? So because of that, I'm saying it's regardless of what, the most important component would be support of support system. Train these persons, tell them how they could actually sustain the business, right? That is the only how Prime is going to be successful. Now, if 10 years from now, let's not even go so far, 5 years from now, you could have 25% of those businesses surviving. That is what determines if the project was successful or not. Other than that, then it just circulating some money in the economy on a temporary basis. And it doesn't solve our problem that we have.
Thank you, Dr. Shallow. Ms. Thomas, what are your thoughts?
Well, I also think that Prime is an excellent program, but I've also have some questions similar to what Shallow was just expressing. I've always been curious to know if there's any accountability from the persons who gotten these grants and whether or not the monies were actually invested into startup businesses or even business continuity of whoever got them. So I would like Tony to maybe answer me because I would want to know if there's any success stories coming out of these grants from persons who are going to start up businesses.
Mr. Regisford, there's a question on the floor that
I
must
want to
comment at this point before we wrap up the conversation on Prime.
Yeah, I want to address that, and I want to address the comments made by Dr. Shallow. But let me take the last one first, the accountability. The monies were, a lot of the monies that were issued to Prime grantees were not necessarily cash in hand. Quite a bit of the purchasing of the equipment that they, okay, let's take an example. Somebody wants sewing machines and sewing type equipment. Those were purchased directly from the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning. I have to tell you, that had nothing to do with the steering committee, but I'm just saying, nonetheless, that those were purchased directly. So there was quite a bit of procurement done directly with the vendor. So the person did not have money in their pockets. Having said that, there are instances where people were given part money, part, help with the purchasing of equipment. Some people bought online, which meant that we had to get the invoices and see that where they were coming from and so on. That is as far as accountability is concerned. I am not at all, would not at all be surprised if within every 100 people that receive the Prime grant, there's a small percentage of persons who may wanted to do something different with the money. Look, those are factors that you build into these programs. You try to minimize it as much as possible, most definitely. But there are people who set out to be not very honest, okay? And in the sense of doing the greater good, sometimes it's best not to sit down and count $50 or $100. Okay, I think you get the drift the way I'm going there. So accountability was done in the procurement side of things. Okay. The follow-up though, which is the point that Dr. Shallow was making, and the support which Very important points. And I think that still has to be done. We have a database of who received grants, what they received the grants for, how much money they received, where they live. All that information was captured. And now the Center for Enterprise Development is charged with the responsibility of using that database and bringing a lot of those people into their fold as clients, as people who the Center for Enterprise Development will shepherd. Okay. There's some businesses, to be honest with you, Kishore, that if you received a grant to do some landscaping, essentially a weed whacker and a blower. Once you get the weed whacker and a blower, there's not going to be too much follow-up there, okay? Straightforward, you understand what I'm saying? There's not going to be a lot of energy spent in following up on something like that, okay? But the ones that need more capacity building, perhaps in need of further finance down the road to expand and so on, very important. And you made the point that regardless of if it's a grant or a loan, the same support mechanisms are required. And I think that point needs to be fully understood. So whether the person is engaged in the sense where they have skin in the game, okay, they borrowed money, so they have to pay it back. And therefore, they may put more effort into ensuring that the business is successful. Yeah, I agree. I think people should always have, put it this way, the more skin in the game people have, the better. But the reality is there are people with no skin at all. What do? The people who have no skin, you've got to accommodate for them too. And which is what Prime was meant to be, which is why it is a low level sort of financing. Okay. At the end of the day, you're talking about grants the size of $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, and so on. Okay. The support mechanism, the support ecosystem is very, very important. Very, very important. Business support organizations like the Center for Enterprise Development, like the Chamber of Industry and Commerce as well. These are the roles that they're meant to play. A lot of the times, these business support organizations themselves are resource stressed. Resource stressed in terms of budgets, operating budgets. So they face the same sort of challenges. So it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. I'll tell you, the Center for Enterprise Development, while there is a budget that they operate with directly from the government, they also access several development projects. So they're used as a conduit to put projects out there that are run by other development agencies, external development agencies. So in a large measure, that's how CD works, okay? The downside to that is that if you're going to wait until there's some funds available from the European Development Fund or the World Bank or Caribbean Development Bank or something, or, CEDA, they dictate what the project is. It may not be a priority in terms of our, we have our priorities or what we want to address. So we can't run this country just on the basis of external projects. External projects are good, okay? But very often, they don't necessarily, not very often, I would say, there are times when they do not necessarily address the heart of what we need addressing. So we have to drive some of our own projects, okay? And to do that, we need money. And to get money.
Thank you, Mr. Regisford. Thank you so much for that mouthful. And we are going to get to the final question before we take some from the audience. And this question, I'm going to allow you to take it in any direction that you wish to. From COVID and the last of eruptions, we have received funding from external sources, and we as Vincentians have benefited from those funding. Do you think that the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has done enough, or has spent the money in a way that pleases you, or in a way that embarrasses you? And what sector do you think was given too much or too little attention? And in this conversation, we can talk about education, we talk about sports, tourism. Hit it from any angle. And Dr. Charlotte, because I just said to hit it, and I know West Indies is playing right now, I want you to start. Take us from here.
West Indies actually won
for the rest of the show because West Indies just won.
And we are all glad to hear that.
For sure. The truth is, I don't really know. I'm not aware of the funds that came in specifically for the volcano, so I can't really comment on it. I try not to comment too much on things that I don't have the facts on.
Mm-hmm.
What I would just add before I pass on to my fellow panelists is that our current revenue, right, for the last couple of years, obviously we benefit tremendously from taxes on goods and services and VAT, probably about 70 to 75%, right? Under 75% for sure. And the area I would suggest that, whatever funds that comes into the country goes directly to the small businesses, right? Because that is where the money will circulate right back to the government. Because the government, obviously, they have the debt, they have to pay the workers. We need to get salaries. We have to maintain a healthcare system and other systems that has to be sustained. So I would just want and hope that the money is back to the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines, where they can go and spend, where they can do shopping and so on, or where they can do catering and provide other services. And I think once that is done, I think, we could safely say that they were spent, in a prudent manner, I would say.
I thank you, Dr. Shallow, for that very diplomatic and honest answer.
Well, I don't have the facts.
Yes, and that's definitely something that we should encourage. If we don't know, then
I don't know if you have some facts that you could share with us.
It's interesting that you don't know the facts then.
All right, so Ms. Jackson, tell us some more about this.
I would say, as it relates to the COVID funding and volcano relief efforts, we have been getting a lot of donations around the world. What is the tally of the donations? It's not clear to me. This is why the best thing to do is not to comment.
Well, when I say I don't have the facts, and the facts are, it's one thing to say that we are getting money, it's coming in, contribution, donation, whatever you want to call it. But that could be $1,000, it could be $1 million, it could be $1 billion. And until we know those figures, right? So maybe what we can do is demand of the persons, or
and that's the direction I was going. I was thinking that the reality of it is we know that we've been getting donations from around the world, and it's not clear as the quantity. So we haven't quantified it. I know it has been a difficult job on behalf of those in authority to manage the different shelters and the other persons who are not in shelters, in private homes, the different parts of the country that has been affected, even though that is not in private homes. So a lot of spending has been done. But at some point in time, we would need a reconciliation.
Yes.
We need to know what came in and what was spent. I don't know if that is in the ambit of which department, if it's the Ministry of Finance, if it's the economic advisor. I don't know whose ambit it is to tell us what would have been the total amount of money that we received thus far and how it was spent over the last 18 months. But I think it's something that we really need to request, because we hear from time to time people would say stuff, but then again, I don't want to comment on it because I have no facts. I don't know how much was received and how it was spent. And until then, I still do feel that even though now most persons have moved back to their homes as it relates to relief, I think there are a lot of persons who are still in need. And I think we've moved from the point of giving out bags of food and cases of water and so on. I think persons now need to be taught to fish and given some of the tools so that they can provide for themselves. Because we can't go forward for another year or two in a give kind of economy. You understand? Persons, I don't know. I don't mind if I'm down, somebody help me, but I don't want to be helped for the next 2 years. So I don't want to be a poor relief case. I don't want to be a handout case. And I know many Vincentians are like that. You understand? So I think we're at the point now where we need to see how we can help persons with survival. The micro business is very important. Again, some of these funding that we're receiving now should be channeled into assisting persons to get businesses. If they were into farming, maybe buy them some manure, buy them some seeds, get them out there back into what do you need, give them some, which I think the Ministry of Agriculture has been doing, give them some assistance over a period of time so that they can get their crop up. If you went to fishing and you may have lost your boat, you may have lost your engine because of damage or whatever, help persons along that way. If your house has been destroyed and your shop has been destroyed, you help them to get the shop functional again. So I think we need some of that. So some of the monies that we get in should be used in helping to resuscitate persons and not just continue to keep them on life support by just giving them the basic needs and so forth. So I think that is one of the things we need to look at, how we can go forward doing some of that.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. And from something you've mentioned this dependency, and earlier Dr. Shallow mentioned domestic violence. And we know that one of the main underlying factors is that financial dependency on one partner to the other. So what do you think is responsible for this mindset that Vincentians have of depending on somebody else for bread?
I wouldn't say it's a mindset, though, I wouldn't say it's a mindset. I think there are many persons who ascribe to that type of lifestyle, but the average Vincentians are generally hardworking and want a way to make their livelihood. You understand? And I mean, many persons don't conform to what we may consider the 8 to 4, 9 to 5 kind of style. But there are many persons who their hustle might be selling some fruits on the road, going and planting and then sell the food. We need to find the avenues that persons can channel the energy. But I don't think we have this dependency. And if we have it, we need to really try to cut it out. I think over the years, I keep hearing, and I would say the politician brag, that we have more people on poor relief. And that's something I don't ever think is a statistic we should brag about. I think we should have a social welfare system that take care of our elderly, our orphans, our needy, our persons with special needs, but to be granting handout. I mean, even sometimes you may find yourself in an economic situation of being sick and you don't have money for your medical bills and so forth. Our welfare, our public system should be able to take care of that. But to have sometimes our political affiliates getting a $250 every month and big, hard, back, strong man and woman, I really think we should cut it out, But all in all, it has a lot to do with our socialization, our education process. I mean, even as you mentioned the issue of domestic violence, we have to start training and teaching and educating our boys and girls that generally, violence is never the answer.
Correct.
So somebody hits you, hit them back. No. You understand? We have to look at ways to resolve it. You understand? And I mean, I personally just suffered the consequence of me being violent. I broke my leg because I pushed somebody and they pushed me back.
Oops.
You understand? And it wasn't me, it was my character. So I understand even furthermore, the things you say sometimes go a longer way. We need to practice that. It's never okay for us to try to hit or beat up on the weaker sex, whether it's male or female, because violence goes both ways. Most times we always figure domestic violence is a woman beating up a man. There's plenty man beating up a woman. There's plenty woman who does be beating on man too. I tell you, I've seen it. There's women who actually abuse men just as well as women are abused. So we need to really teach our persons that violence is not the answer. As much as possible, you walk away from violence, from confrontations, and look at the alternative angle. Conflict resolution is something that should be taught in schools from as early as primary school. You understand? So that the younger, and you see the whole process and the stage that we have with violence in St. Vincent is mostly young males against young males. And it's also because they don't know how to resolve their problems. You understand?
Yeah.
Once you take a life, you can't get it back. And we need to really understand that and try to work and see how we could change the mindset of people to let them know that that is not the right way.
Thank you. Wonderful. Dr. Charlotte, I'm just going to ask you a question that I picked up from, a point that I picked up from Ms. Jackson. And she said that Vincentians are generally hardworking people who just want a way forward. And you mentioned unemployment earlier. How do you think we can go about creating more jobs for Vincentians who just want a way forward and not necessarily a handout?
We cannot create enough jobs for our people because of the state of our economy. Of the just over 100,000, we have about 66% or so the working class, right? So if you have about 6,000 persons working here, are able to work, then it's the harsh reality is the government cannot provide, which is why it comes now to things for programs like Prime Grant, which is one of the things we didn't mention it earlier. I can't recall if anyone mentioned it, but one of the successes I would say of Prime is to hear persons keen on accessing the grant are just coming up with ideas for businesses just because of this opportunity. And sometimes we think only of the money, but even persons who aren't successful at getting the grant, because I think there was a hole with funds and so on. And a few persons actually reach out to me to help them with business plan and so on. So this is how I know that some were successful, some weren't, right? But even them, because of the thought of coming up with these ideas, they are encouraged now to explore, right? And that is what we need to do. We need to encourage persons to be independent, which is why I spoke about it earlier, freedom and people now having a great appreciation for independence. If we keep encouraging persons that, listen, we could help you fish, right? And there's so many things we could actually do if we are not taught from as early as school to just rely on getting a job and do different things or just to work for someone else that we can do, whether it's selling coconut by the side of the street, right? Whether it's going in the farm, in the mountains and farm, or even right in the backyard and farm and sell, because we do have market for these things locally, right? But it's just people need to be. I still believe, my opinion, I did for society to Idisha there, I think people are very dependent in St. Vincent. It's encouraged by politicians, it's encouraged by some others in authority because they benefit from it, right? If you have persons relying, and that's just the reality, I just be speaking frankly, right? That if you have persons relying on you, that I could come and give you $1 and then at the next election you vote for me and so on. It's just a system, right? A flawed system, but it's the system that we live in. That's one of the downsides to a democratic system. But we just need to encourage people, and because I'm hoping that the COVID situation would show us and teach us that we have to encourage people to be more self-sustainable, right? And if we could approach or adapt that sort of mindset, then the economy itself will be better. If we could encourage small businesses, regardless of who you're supporting, to prosper, just help them to prosper, then the economy will benefit, right? But again, it doesn't quite work favorable for some persons or some sectors.
Thank you, Dr. Shallow. Ms. Thomas, Dr. Shallow has mentioned a number of times repeatedly the value of importance of independence, and he just elaborated on it again, and we just spoke about domestic violence. Now, unfortunately, some Vincentians at this point aren't able to be that independent, even because of the fact that they've been displaced and they now live with somebody else. With that situation, there are some persons who have been sexually exploited, sexually abused, and the going forward of our economy is also dependent on how the welfare of our people. As someone who deals with human beings, Vincentians on a daily basis in the workplace, who may be displaced, what would you say to the audience about sexual violence and the way we go forward, even for those who are not that independent at the moment?
I think that is something that is totally unacceptable by any means at all. But we have to think about those persons who are being violated, and I think there need to be some sort of system set up to help those persons to sort of maybe address the things that are going on inside of them as a result of that. And I think maybe even probably set up a temporary home or something, remove those people, put them in a situation where they can receive counseling, guidance, and maybe in some cases, some persons put up with these because they're dependent on some of the abusers. I think maybe they need to probably encourage training for these people to try and help them to probably get out of this situation. But I think this is one of the areas where I don't think a lot of emphasis is placed on persons who are being sexually abused. I think honestly they need to set up a sex predator registry too, so that everybody know who these people are. Because until you name some of them and shame them, it's going to continue and it's going to be treated as if it's normal and it's okay. And unfortunately, that is another thing. I think a lot of people treat this as if it's okay and it's normal, and in some cases they even blame the persons and say that they beg for it.
Thank you. And that's very true. That's something that we need to place emphasis on. Mr. Regisford, we are back to you, and we want to know about the funding that the government has received, and what do you think about how these monies have been spent? So far, 2 of our panelists have made it clear that they aren't sure about the amount of money that we receive. What are your comments on this?
Well, I think you really needed to have somebody from the Ministry of Finance here, because I'm certainly not qualified to answer that, either finance or economic planning. Look, I mean, I believe funds have been coming in for various, to go to various causes. We have all sorts of aid that even after COVID is long gone and the volcano is long gone, the Caribbean economies, I have to tell you all, function a lot on aid and grant monies. Okay, so let's not think that this is any new phenomenon. Okay, but clearly you're identifying this particular need or this particular case. Look, there are health issues that need to be addressed. There are people in shelters that need to be fed. There's infrastructure that needs to be fixed, ash clearing that needed to have been done. I guess there are multiple things. As far as that accountability and naming a finite sum and so on, I am not qualified to answer that. I'm not even going to try to do so. Okay? That really needs to be directed to the people who receive and manage the funds. What I will say from a private sector standpoint, though, is that I would like to see, in terms of utility, as far as possible, and I'm not saying it isn't happening, but I'm saying nonetheless that if it isn't, it should. I would like to see a lot of the money spent locally, okay? Something I'm not comfortable with. I understand why it happened. Immediate response to a disaster means that you got to get all sorts of stuff into the island, food supplies, etc., etc. And the containers came in by the shiploads. But pause for a moment and think what that's doing to local businesses. They're not selling because the demand is not there for their product. Which brings me on to another issue that I want to bring up on this program. We applaud the barrel concessions. I got people in my chamber who are feeling the bite from that, because for every single barrel that comes in here duty free with products that our businesses sell, it means they're not making revenues. They don't make revenues, they can't keep people employed. They can't keep people employed, they're going to go out in the street. Government can't absorb them. It's not just we are not making revenues. Government not making any revenues either. Government not making revenues at the customs. They're not getting VAT. Look, it's a balance. Don't get me wrong. Don't quote me as saying that I'm against the barrel concessions. I am saying it is an area that we have to look at carefully, because we can undermine the economy if we're not careful. Okay, by having that thing perpetuated indefinitely or too long. Okay, and I'm saying that without any apologies. Okay. So yes, my comment on the funds that come in to assist with the relief efforts and with the rebuilding efforts, I would like to see that as far as possible, it's used in a meaningful way to get people engaged in employment, to get businesses working so that they can continue to employ people, and our economy it can actually be an economic stimulus. You know, actually rebuilding infrastructure is a way of stimulating the economy, you know, albeit in the short term, but it can actually be an economic stimulus. So that is my comment on the funds that's coming in here. I don't know about the accountability part. I'm not going to even attempt to answer that question. That's not within my
Thank you, Mr. Regisford. And because our children have been out of school for so long, because our sports department also has been interfered with because of COVID, because of the eruptions, and tourism, of course, has been put on pause for a very long time. What do you think that we as a nation can do going forward for our children, for our athletes, and for our tourism sector?
Yes, it's extremely difficult. I think our under-19 boys just missed out on a golden opportunity to play at the ICC Cricket World Cup next year. That's going to be hosted here in the Caribbean. And it's for the fact that they weren't able to play youth cricket. You see, at that age, under 19 especially, as early as, whether it's 15 up to 19, you mature quickly. You could also lose interest really fast. So it's important to engage them, right? And I was speaking to someone close to football recently too. And the reality is that a lot of our young athletes use sports as a distraction from getting involved in different things, right? And, you would say crime rate could increase, right, if we do not manage the situation carefully. So it's one thing to look at health and COVID and all this, but you cannot take it in isolation from those other stuff, right? So I really think, and we have done fairly well in managing COVID-19 by not shutting down the country or imposing curfew and these different things, right? We have done well. Currently, we sit at about 950 active cases, and I said nice compared to our neighboring islands who probably 700, 800, 900, and we could get back there, so we're not becoming complacent, but I'm saying that we have done well. We just have to now be mindful of how we move forward. I think, and I know we're closing up, but I think the ultimate question, right, is our healthcare system. Can it manage, or how many cases can it manage at a time? Severe cases, that is, right? And I think that is what our authorities are going on to make the decisions. If we could manage 100 persons at our facilities, right? 50, 20, and so on. But if we really can manage, right, a certain number of severe cases, I think we'll be in a position where we could just maybe open up a bit more still, get more economic activities happening, get sports going again sooner than later, because these are very important activities that we must have in order to survive, right? So it's one thing to have good health, but you can't have good health and locked up, and then people not working, people not getting money, crime rate increasing, people getting unhealthy because they're not engaged otherwise. So we have to think of everything. It has to be a holistic approach. And I think if we could get there, get more persons involved, get persons like us on the panel here and different average person you consider average out there, to help make these informed decisions. Right?
Thank you, Dr. Shallow. Ms. Jackson, what will you say about the children who have been out of school for so long?
Well, it has been, as a mother of 3 boys, it has been a very difficult year for us. Being a working mother, and I speak now in a general sense for all the working mothers and working fathers out there who basically had to leave your children. It shows us, leave your children at home. It shows us very much the important role that the teachers play in the whole social upbringing of our children. They educate them, and they sometimes mother and father them while they're at school. And for most part, most of the children have been left at home. I know there have been some online schooling, But on a personal note, I think it was catastrophic in my family. My boys are not online schoolers. They wouldn't sit still. They would only sit still with the supervision of a teacher. So it was a terrible year for us. And I think a lot of parents would have faced this kind of reality where the online teaching, as good as it is, I'm not knocking any of the teachers for their efforts or anything. It just wasn't engaging enough. The interaction, the social interaction that boys and girls need in the whole process of development was not there. The seclusion at home is not mentally fitting for our children. So I think this whole year was really terrible. Look forward for school reopening and having the full-on engagement with online and physical schooling. I know, again, my boys are active footballers, so for some time having them, and I have to speak on a personal level because I know more parents out there would be thinking along the same line. Your kids locked away, you can't go out to even, release some of that energy, so you have them jumping around and jittery in the house because they have a lot of kinetic energy that they need to use and they were not able to use it up. So we really see the importance of the physical, the use of energy. So all sporting facilities, I think, need to be enhanced, and we need to really engage more so that our youths can excel. I know, for one, my sons would always talk about their vision of being footballers, and I was like, man, study a book, same like Dr. Kishore was saying, and it's not because I don't think that they're good. It's just that I know it's a very competitive world out there. And if you're not excellent, and if you don't push all of your energies into excelling, there's not so much you can achieve. But I really do see sports as an opportunity for persons to excel in life, So we need to create the facilities. We need to provide assistance to all the coaches and all the, the football clubs and the cricket clubs so that they would have the youths actively participating and moving from the stages. One of the things why we don't excel in whether World Cup football is because we don't have the relevant structures going right up so that the youths can excel. So, that is also very important. And to touch on the tourism aspect of it, I think we have to consider, are we going in full again to just having a mono industry? Or are we going to try to complement the tourism with some cultural activities, with some manufacturing activities? I've been a tour guide for probably 13 years or more with one of the local companies here. And I think I'm more me being a tour guide because I get to talk freely and be fun with all the visitors. And one of the things that I've always seen that many of us think that what the visitors are coming for, they don't always get. They want our local food. And I would tell them about our national dish and where do I take them to eat our national dish? Where do I take them to get the crab and the callaloo? Where do I take them to get the blackfish? And, the things that you tell them about, sometimes one visitor asks me, where do I go to get it? And then I couldn't figure out which restaurant to send them by. They don't come here to eat hamburgers and fries made from the same beef that we import from the United States. Yeah. They may want a baloo burger, or they may want a crayfish burger, or they may want a veggie burger made from local vegetables. And I don't think we offer all that our tourists needs. Again, we enter the virtual age. Why are we not doing virtual tourism? Somebody could put on a goggles and start hiking La Soufrière, and we have a very nice trail for them to go on. We have a lot of persons who are scientific. Tony was talking about the science. Yeah. We need to get persons to invent the apps so they can go, as I say, on virtual tours of the country. And these two can make, somebody could be sitting at home. Why can't we just, develop for those persons who ride it by the Peloton, that they have the images of St. Vincent, that they can buy this online and know that they're riding one of our roads going out countryside and so forth. So these are some of the things that we have to look into. NCI and TCI, telecommunication department, need to do more work in trying to promote some of these areas, apps that people can buy and see St. Vincent and so forth. So that would be
Thank you. So we heard a lot to NTRC, the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Agriculture, and to the Vincentian population from Ms. Jackson. Thank you so much. And as I go to our final two panelists, Ms. Thomas, do you think that incentives should be given to our frontline workers, especially our doctors, our nurses?
I would want to think that something, yes, But that doesn't necessarily mean that it should be monetary or whatever the case is. But I think for those persons who are braving it every day to make sure that our country stays healthier, people looked after in all these various conditions, yes, there should be some incentive to encourage them to continue giving the best, and they are.
Thank you. Mr. Regisford, I'm going to allow you to comment some more on the tourism aspect. How do we go forward? I know you touched on that earlier, and I know you said you wanted to dive into that. So I'm going to allow you to do that. And there's one question that I noticed from the online audience that I think you might want to answer. Why the manufacturers can't be held accountable if something goes wrong with the vaccine? And then we close.
I am not sure I can answer that.
Tony to answer that one.
I'm not sure I can answer that question. No, that's way above my pay grade. I don't even know how to begin to answer that. Why they can't be held accountable for if something goes wrong? That's a very hypothetical question. So I'm not going to answer it.
Right.
Okay. Next comment is on the tourism sector. It's a pity, I think, that COVID had to enter the fray, because I personally had a sense that we were getting some activity, especially on the mainland, in terms of tourism development, which, albeit slowly, but the Argyle International Airport did bring, and still brings, in the context of COVID, obviously you have to put that in context, but interest to airlines and hotel developers and, recreation type people, because it's a new destination. Simmons is a new destination. It's relatively untapped, especially the mainland. So I feel a little aggrieved by this COVID-19, not that I could do anything about it, but that it had to come and, pull up brakes like that. However, I hope we can get back on track. What I have to say, and this is just my personal view on the tourism product, I don't like some of the models that I see in the Caribbean. I hope we don't repeat those. I really want to see more of an integrated product. I want to see the tourism product being enjoyed by tourists and locals and regional people alike. I think that's a mistake that a lot of the tourism economies made. And now with COVID, they're suddenly grappling and asking people to have staycations and so on. Trust me, that's not where their interest was before. So there's a lesson to be learned there. We have to integrate everybody into the industry, not just from the supply side, but from the consumer side as well. And that means locals. That means that if I'm a local and I have money in my pocket, I should feel free to go and enjoy the facilities at a resort, at a restaurant, and don't feel as if I'm some sort of alien. Okay? I really think there needs to be a deliberate effort to ensure that we have an integrated tourism model. I also want to say this, and these are just my personal comments, our tourism product is my feeling. People should come here because of who we are and not what we contrive ourselves to be to please them. Okay? If you look at Europe, if you look at the United Kingdom as an example, lots of tourists go to the UK, It's a tourist-based economy as well as it is services and otherwise. But they don't change a thing that they do to accommodate you. They just continue being themselves, okay? They don't change one thing. You go there to see who they are. You go there to see the guards at Buckingham Palace change. Look, if you stop coming, they're still going to do it, okay? They go there to see the historic parts of the UK, all of that, right? They're not changing who they are. You go there to experience who they are. In the Caribbean, we need to have an authentic product like that. Otherwise, we'll be forever chasing waterfalls. Okay? And so I think we have an opportunity to fashion the sort of tourism industry that we want because we are relatively young in the game, or we're relatively virgin in the game. So I know you're like 12 minutes running over your time, and I hope that I was able to contribute in some measure to your discussion.
Thank you so much. I know your comments are well received. I just want to say thank you to all of our sponsors, Digicel, Hyroon, District Stairs, Computech for allowing us to stream live. Thank you also to General Hardware, and thank you to Aldean's Brown Cosmetics and Aldean Beauty Salon for my hairstyle and for my look. I appreciate you all. Thank you to our panelists for being here. It was a really rich discussion. And thank you, our audience, for joining us. Remember, next week, Sunday, same time, same place. I am your host, Vakisha John. See you.
My Digicel presents Hit by a How-To. Here is how you can purchase a plan in the My Digicel app and get instant access to all of our apps. It's simple. Let me show you how. From your home screen, find the plans and bundles icon in the lower left corner of your screen. Tap it to see your available plans and bundles. You can choose between a Prime bundle with data and talk, or pick a plan from the Available Plans tab. Find the plan that's best for you, then hit confirm and you're ready to go. With your new plan, you may have access to more of our apps. Find them in the More from Digicel section and hit download for each of our new apps. You can also upgrade your current plan or bundle under the Active Plans section of your homepage. Excited to try it out? Download the My Digicel app today. My Digicel, better together.
Isn't it good to know that no matter where you are, you're covered? Covered by a company owned by Vincentians that understands your unique insurance needs. At Metrosint General Insurance Company, we've invested 50 years of service to guarantee that you have the peace of mind that you deserve. When it comes to motor vehicle, property, employer's liability, business insurance, and much more, we've got you covered. Our professional and friendly staff understands your needs and ensures you understand your options. Metrosint General Insurance Company.
Drink for free, drive for free, talk for free with Hyroon. You can win it all.
That's right. Free beer, free rent, free utilities, groceries, and fuel.
Check the bar for your 3 for 10. Look under your crown and win. Everything is rent, free. Utilities, groceries, fuel. You can win it all. Yeah.
Enjoy Ice Cold Hyroon 3 for 10 and check under the crown for the Live Up stamp and win a $200 cash voucher instantly.
Hyroon, you can win. Everything is free.
There's over $100,000 in prizes to be won. Rise up S3G and win with Hyroon. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends August 15th. Must be 18 and older. Please drink responsibly.
Eldorado Super Bingo. Bingo tickets play for opportunity to win US $25,000 on Sunday, 29th August 2021. Beginning at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. 13 chances to win. 6 US $1,000 cash prizes. 4 $2,000 US cash prizes. 3,000 US cash prizes. And 1 $5,000 US cash prize. Games will be played on www.bingomaker.com. Login and access information would be provided upon purchase. Proceeds from this event goes towards a worthy cause. August 29th, Eldorado Super Bingo.
Comtech Limited is one of the oldest computer businesses in SVG. Computech supplies a wide range of desktop and laptop computers and printers to suit your home or business, and is the only company that provides a full range of IT solutions to our many customers across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Computech, your authorized service center for Dell, HP, and Lenovo. Ideally located in Kingstown on the corner of Egmont and Bay Street, opposite the Financial Complex building. Remember the name. Computech, 25 years and getting better.
Hello everyone, my name is Vakisha John and I will be your host for the informative and exciting program On The Spot, brought to you by Asbelt News Network and IKTV. Look forward to our live streaming every Sunday at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. See you soon. During our live discussions, you can expect us to tackle issues in sports, mental health, youth and politics, entrepreneurship. We will also speak about the effects of the pandemic and how we move forward as a nation. Expect us to talk about our heritage, Hairuna and its history, land of the blessed, and anything that can affect us as a people, as a Vincentian society. We will be serving you food for thought. Our panelists will inform you on the topics that we will discuss, as they're experts in their field. They're knowledgeable and experienced, and bonus, they're Vincentians. However, it is important that we hear from you, our audience. Feel free to submit your questions to Asbelt News Network Facebook page and to the IKTV Facebook page beforehand, or in the event that you feel the need to submit your questions during the live, feel free to leave your comments and we will get back to you. What's in store for you? Once you tune in to our live program every Sunday, you get a triangle of benefits. Here's how. You leave informed, you are eligible to win fabulous prizes every week, and you also get to see unique products and services offered by our sponsors. Don't miss out. Don't forget to follow Asbelt News Network ANN on Facebook or its website annsvg.com for your latest news on sports and current affairs. Also, be sure to tune in to IKTV channel 112 to satisfy your craving for entertainment. Be sure to also like and follow their Facebook page, IKTV. Don't you miss out. See you soon.